So, today we're jumping into a really fascinating guide for, well, navigating the messy world of human nature. It's Robert Greene's The Daily Laws. And this isn't just some random collection of thoughts. This is basically 25 years of his research into power, strategy, and what makes people tick, all boiled down into one place. Let's dive in. Right off the bat, Greene hits us with this really powerful idea. Wisdom isn't something that's just handed to you on a silver platter. Nope. It's something you have to go out and find for yourself. It's a journey through the wilderness, as he puts it, and it's a journey you have to take alone. It's your own personal quest. And that's where the journey really kicks off, with this one huge, provocative question. What if everything you've been told about how to succeed, how to deal with people, how to live your life, what if it's all just wrong? That's the challenge Robert Greene throws down. Okay, so where do we even begin a journey like that? Well, for Greene, the starting line is all about confronting what he calls culture's common delusions. He argues that the world we grow up in fills our heads with all these well-meaning but ultimately pretty dangerous ideas. I mean, just look at this list. You've heard these before, right? Work should always be fun, or don't ever make mistakes. We hear this stuff all the time. But here's the kicker. Greene's whole point is that these seemingly nice, positive beliefs, they actually make us naive. They leave us completely unprepared for a world that, let's be honest, plays by a very different, much rougher set of rules. So what happens when all those nice, cozy myths we've been taught just slam headfirst into the brick wall of reality? Well, that's our next stop. It's that moment of impact, where our comfortable little illusions just get shattered by how life actually works. And you know who's a perfect example of this? Robert Greene himself. He spent more than a decade just wandering, bouncing around. We're talking something like 60 different jobs. He felt totally lost. But what was really happening was he was in the trenches, gathering the raw, real-world intel he needed to figure out how things really operate. And get this, a lot of his most famous laws, they didn't come from a library. Nope. They were forged in the fire of some pretty painful experiences. Just take his very first law from the 48 Laws of Power. So Greene tells this one story where he was working his butt off, finding all these amazing stories for a documentary, basically crushing it. He thought he was being a superstar employee. But his success, it just made his boss feel insecure, threatened even. And he learned, right then and there, that the work world is full of these political games nobody ever prepares you for. Sometimes, being too good is the biggest mistake you can make. So you've had that reality check. Now what? Well, that's where Greene's work comes in. He basically positions it as your personal guide, a map to help you navigate this tricky new territory, ditch those dangerous illusions, and get back in touch with reality. Greene actually uses this really cool German word for it, Bildungsroman. It just means an education novel. You know, a story about a hero's journey from being naive to becoming wise and battle-tested. But here's the twist. You are the hero. The book is designed to be your journey. And this journey he lays out, it's got 3 pretty clear steps. First, you gotta reconnect with what's actually real. Then you learn to tune in to, well, how people really are, the good, the bad, and the ugly of human nature. And finally, you put it all together to become what he calls a radical realist, someone who sees the world clearly and can act effectively in it. All right, so what's the payoff for all this? What do you actually learn? Well, a huge piece of the puzzle is learning to spot the different players in this big human game, and maybe more importantly, the subtle strategies they're using. Okay, let's take a look at one of the archetypes Greene talks about. He calls it the supposed non-player. On the outside, these are the folks who act like they're totally above playing games, right? They're all about morality and fairness, equality for all. But if you pull back the curtain, what do you see? Greene says that this whole "I'm not playing" act is actually the perfect cover for some seriously slick, indirect manipulation. And this, right here, is what it's all building towards. The whole point of this journey isn't just about learning power games or spotting manipulators. For Greene, the real goal, the big prize, is clearing out all that external noise so you can finally hear your own inner voice and discover what you are uniquely meant to do. What he calls your life's task. And the journey really begins with this idea right here. Think of it like this. You're a sculptor, and your life, your potential, all your quirks, that's your block of marble. It's just raw material. The power to shape it into something incredible, that's all in your hands. And this next quote,
Man, it just nails it. Become who you are by learning who you are. See, your life's task isn't about inventing some new version of yourself or trying to fit into a mold that somebody else made. It's about an excavation. It's about digging down and finding the real you that's been there all along.
And this is so, so crucial. This whole idea throws that myth of inborn talent right out the window. Nietzsche is basically saying, forget about giftedness. The greats, the so-called geniuses, they weren't just born that way. They acquired greatness. They became geniuses through insane discipline and by following that one thing that pulled at them day in and day out for years. And that's where it all leads, right back to you. I mean, if you're the hero of your own story, if you're on this quest to become who you truly are, then the first step is always the same. You have to decide which illusion you're going to let go of first. So, what's it going to be?